Every day you wake up, you face a choice to step into your power or to shrink back into excuses, a choice to live at the level of your potential or the level of your past. Right now, in this moment, you have inside you everything it takes to create a life that excites you. But here's the truth: life will not hand it to you. Comfort will not hand it to you. Waiting for the right time will not hand it to you. You must decide. You must claim it. You must rise. When your mind says, I can't, you remind yourself, I will. When doubt whispers, who do you think you are? You shout back, I am more TN, Eno-G-H. When fear tries to chain you down, you break it, you crush it, you move anyway. Because courage is not the absence of fear. It's action in spite of it. So every morning, set your standard. Not someday, not later. No, doll. Stand tall, breathe deep, feel that strength surging in your body. Remind yourself, I am the creator of my life. I am unstoppable. I am disciplined, focused, relentless. I will not let my dreams die in my head. I will bring them into reality. Listen, the world doesn't reward excuses. It rewards results. And your results will come from the decisions you make today, right now, in this moment. So feed your mind with power, fuel your body with energy, and direct your soul with vision. Stop waiting, stop doubting, stop hesitating, step into who you were born to be. Act boldly, live fully, love deeply, and never ever settle. Because TS is your time. This is your day. This is your life. And it's waiting for you to rise up and claim it. Every single day, you're given a moment where life asks you a simple but powerful question. Will you step into your power or will you shrink into your excuses? It doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, or what your past has looked like. The question is the same. And every choice you make is either moving you closer to the life you were born to live or pushing you further away into the shadows of limitation. Power is not something given. It's something claimed. It's not waiting for you out there in the approval of others, in the perfect circumstances, or in some distant future. Power is already within you, waiting for you to call on it, waiting for you to use it. Excuses are easy. They are the default mode. Excuses are the mind's way of protecting you from risk, from change, from the unknown. But every time you choose an excuse, you weaken the muscle of your own strength. Every time you tell yourself, not now, or I can't, or maybe later, you are rehearsing smallness, and the more you rehearse it, the more you believe it. Stepping into your power doesn't mean you won't feel fear. It doesn't mean the obstacles will magically disappear. It means you decide that no matter what's standing in front of you, you will not bow down to it. You will not let it dictate who you are or how you show up. Power is that decision, that internal shift, when you draw a line in the sand and declare, I will not be ruled by excuses anymore. When you make that choice, you begin to rewrite your story. You stop being a victim of circumstances and you become a creator of outcomes. You stop asking, why me? And you start asking, what can I do? What can I create? What is possible if I give everything I have? Excuses will always feel comfortable because they let you off the hook. They give you a story that feels safe. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. I don't have the right background. I'm too old. I'm too young. The list is endless. But here's the truth. Someone out there has faced the same conditions, the same limitations, the same obstacles, and they refused to let them be the final word. They stepped into their power, and because they did, they changed everything. The question is, will you be one of those people, or will you be someone who settles for the excuses? Every excuse you've ever used has one thing in common: it keeps you from action. Power, on the other hand, is unleashed through action. You want confidence. You don't get it by waiting to feel ready. You get it by stepping forward when you feel unprepared, by showing up when you're uncertain, by taking a swing when fear tells you to sit down. Every step you take builds momentum, and momentum is the oxygen of power. It's what takes you from where you are to where you want to be. But excuses cut off that oxygen. They suffocate growth. They keep you stuck in the same patterns, living the same day, the same year over and over again until life passes you by. When you step into your power, you stop negotiating with your limitations. You stop giving them the microphone in your mind. You start listening to that deeper voice within, the one that whispers you were made for more. That voice gets drowned out every time you give attention to excuses, but it grows louder every time you honor it with action. Every time you push yourself one step further, every time you rise when it would be easier to quit, you prove to yourself that you are capable of far more than you once believed. This is not about perfection. This is not about never falling short. Stepping into your power means you embrace responsibility. You own your results, good or bad, and you use every setback as fuel. Excuses blame the world. Power claims responsibility. Excuses say, it's not my fault. Power says, if it's going to be, it's up to me. That's the shift. That's the difference between people who live fully and people who live in regret. The moment you realize your excuses are lies, everything changes. They are lies designed to keep you safe, but safe is not what you were built for. You were built for growth, for contribution, for impact. Power comes from remembering that truth and choosing it again and again every day in the face of temptation to settle back into old patterns. Power is not one big decision. It is 1,000 small decisions repeated daily to step up instead of back down. Think about what happens when you fully commit to stepping into your power. Your posture changes, your energy shifts, your mind sharpens. Opportunities you never saw before begin to appear, not because they weren't there, but because you were too blind to see them while hiding behind excuses. The world responds to the energy you bring to it, and when you bring the energy of ownership, confidence, and relentless determination, the world bends in ways you couldn't have imagined. Your power is contagious. When you choose it, you inspire others to choose it. When you live with strength, courage, and purpose, you give permission to those around you to do the same. But when you hide behind excuses, you not only rob yourself, you rob everyone who could have been impacted by your example. The reality is this: you will never find your power in waiting. You will never find it in complaining. You will never find it in excuses. You will only find it when you make the decision to step up, to rise, to claim what has always been inside you. Courage has never been about the absence of fear. Courage is about action in the presence of fear, moving forward even when your knees are shaking and your heart is pounding. Fear is natural. It is wired into your very being, and it will always show up when you're about to step into something greater than yourself. But the difference between those who live small and those who rise into their potential is not that one group feels no fear while the other does. The difference is that one allows fear to dictate their choices while the other uses fear as a compass that points directly to growth. Fear is a signal, and that signal tells you that you are on the edge of something that matters. The instinct to retreat, to hide, to wait until it feels safe, that is the voice of excuses trying to protect you. But the moment you act in spite of it, the moment you take that step into the unknown, you weaken fear's grip and strengthen your own belief in yourself. Think about how many dreams have died because someone was waiting for fear to go away first. How many people convinced themselves they'd start once they felt ready, once the nerves faded, once the uncertainty disappeared. But here's the truth: that day never comes. Fear doesn't leave before action. It leaves because of action. The energy shifts the second you decide to move. You begin to realize that most of what you were afraid of was an illusion, a story your mind created to keep you safe. And while safety may feel comfortable, it is never where growth is born. Every breakthrough in your life will come on the other side of fear, and the only way through is to move despite it. Action in the presence of fear is like training a muscle. The first time you step forward, it feels heavy, awkward, unnatural. But every repetition builds strength. Every choice to move forward instead of shrinking back makes courage easier to access. Eventually, what once terrified you becomes normal, and the horizon of what's possible expands. This is why some people seem fearless. It's not that they never feel afraid. It's that they've practiced acting in spite of it so many times that it's become their default. Fear will disguise itself in many forms. Sometimes it sounds like perfectionism, telling you not to begin until everything is perfectly aligned. Sometimes it sounds like procrastination, whispering that you'll do it tomorrow. Sometimes it shows up as comparison, convincing you that you're not as good as someone else, so why even try? But every one of those disguises is just fear in a different costume. And the way to strip it of power is the same every time: take action. Do the thing anyway. Send the message, make the call, take the step, speak the words. Even the smallest action begins to unravel fear's illusion and puts you back in control. When you act despite fear, you send a powerful message to your subconscious: I am not my fear. I am greater than it. Fear no longer runs the show. That shift rewires your brain, builds resilience, and creates a foundation of confidence that nothing else can match. Confidence is not born from affirmations or wishful thinking. It is born from evidence. And the only way to collect that evidence is through action. Every time you act in spite of fear, you prove to yourself that you can handle discomfort, that you can step into the unknown and survive, even thrive. Most people wait for courage to come knocking. They imagine it's something that will magically appear in the right moment. But courage is not something that visits you. It's something you summon. You summon it through decisions, through commitments, through refusing to let fear hold the steering wheel. Courage is like a muscle you have to call on, and the more you call on it, the stronger it gets. Waiting to feel brave before acting is like waiting to get strong before lifting weights. You don't get it first, you get it by doing. When you understand this, you begin to look at fear differently. Instead of seeing it as a barrier, you see it as an invitation. Fear shows you where the growth is, where the opportunities lie, where your life can expand if you are willing to walk through the fire. When you begin to act despite fear, the very presence of fear becomes a signal that you are on the right path. It tells you that what you are doing matters. It tells you that you are not stuck in the dead zone of comfort, but on the edge of something that can change you. Consider how different your life would be if every time fear showed up, instead of pulling back, you leaned in. Think about the relationships you could build if you had the courage to speak openly, to express what you really feel. Think about the career opportunities you could unlock if you had the courage to raise your hand, to share your ideas, to ask for what you want. Think about the experiences you could live if you had the courage to travel, to put yourself out there even when you don't know the outcome. Every breakthrough, every achievement, every extraordinary moment in your life will demand that you act in spite of fear. And yes, fear will always have a voice. It will always whisper in the back of your mind, reminding you of the risks, the possibility of failure, the potential for pain. But courage is not about eliminating that voice. It is about turning the volume down and choosing to listen to the voice of possibility instead. The voice that says, what if it works? What if this changes everything? What if this is the moment you finally step into who you were meant to be? Action in the presence of fear transforms not only your outcomes, but your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who hesitates, someone who avoids, someone who hides. You begin to see yourself as someone who acts, someone who shows up, someone who moves forward no matter what. And once that identity takes root, it becomes your new standard. You no longer wait for circumstances to be perfect. You create your own momentum. You no longer ask whether you're ready. You prove you're ready by stepping forward. You no longer let fear define your boundaries. You expand your boundaries by facing fear again and again. Fear will never leave you entirely, and that's not a bad thing. Fear means you care. Fear means you're stretching. Fear means you're alive. But when you understand that courage is not the absence of fear, but action in spite of it, fear loses its power to control you. Instead of paralyzing you, it energizes you. Instead of stopping you, it drives you. Instead of being a wall, it becomes a doorway, and the key to walking through it is simple: act anyway. Every single morning you wake up, you are given a fresh canvas, a brand new opportunity to decide who you are going to be that day. The question is, what standard will you set for yourself? Because make no mistake, you are always setting a standard, whether consciously or unconsciously. Some people set the standard of survival, just get through the day, just make it to the evening, just check off the boxes. Others set the standard of mediocrity, do enough to get by, do what's required but nothing more, stay within the lines. And then there are those who set the standard of excellence, the standard of growth, the standard of possibility. They wake up each morning with intention and decide that their day will be an expression of the best version of themselves, not a repeat of the weakest. The truth is, your life is not shaped by what you do occasionally, but by what you demand of yourself consistently. Standards are the invisible boundaries of your life. If you set a low standard, you'll always lie beneath your potential. If you set a high standard, you'll stretch yourself into becoming more than you thought possible. It's not about what you say you want. It's about what you refuse to settle for. The quality of your life will always be determined by the standard you are willing to enforce for yourself, not by the goals you dream about when it's easy. Every morning is the moment to reset that standard. The world is full of distractions, temptations, and pressures that will try to pull you down to the lowest common denominator. If you don't consciously set your standard, you'll unconsciously adopt the standard of the environment around you. You'll let your mood dictate your actions. You'll let circumstances control your attitude. You'll let other people's expectations shape your behavior. That is living by default. But when you wake up and decide, this is who I am, this is how I show up, this is the level I play at, you reclaim control of your life. You stop being reactive and start being intentional. Think about how different your mornings are when you set your standard high, when you get out of bed with energy and declare to yourself that you will give your best, that you will not waste the day, that you will attack your goals with focus. Everything changes. Your body feels stronger. Your mind sharpens. Your interactions with others shift because you are no longer drifting. You are leading. Compare that to the mornings where you roll out of bed without clarity, where you stumble through the day hoping things work out. The difference isn't luck, it's the standard you chose. Standards are not wishes. Standards are rules. If you say, I want to be healthy, but your standard is that you'll only eat right when it's convenient, you'll never reach the level of health you desire. If you say, I want to be successful, but your standard is that you'll only work hard when you feel motivated, success will always be out of reach. If you say, I want to have strong relationships, but your standard is that you'll only show up for others when it's easy, you'll never build deep connections. Standards are not about what you say you want. They are about what you commit to no matter what. Every morning is the chance to recommit to those standards. It is not about whether you feel like it. Feelings are fleeting. Some mornings you'll feel unstoppable. Others you'll feel heavy, tired, distracted. But standards are not negotiable based on feelings. Standards are who you are, regardless of mood or circumstance. When you set the standard every morning, you remind yourself of your identity and you align your actions to that identity. That's where power comes from, consistency with who you've decided to be. Setting your standard is not just about what you achieve, it's about how you live. Do you wake up and decide to bring gratitude into your day, or do you let negativity set the tone? Do you wake up and decide to bring focus, or do you let distraction scatter your attention? Do you wake up and decide to bring discipline, or do you let laziness creep in and steal your hours? The way you start your morning is a declaration of your standard. If you begin your day sloppy, unfocused, reactive, that energy bleeds into everything else. But when you begin with clarity and strength, you create momentum that carries you through the day. Most people underestimate the power of these daily decisions because the consequences are not immediate. You can eat junk food one morning and still feel fine. You can skip working on your goals one day and nothing collapses. You can scroll through distractions for an hour and the world doesn't end. But over time, those daily lapses compound, and before you know it, you're living far beneath what you're capable of. The opposite is also true. One disciplined morning might not change your life in a day, but repeated over weeks, months, years, it transforms everything. Your standard compounds into your destiny. You know this to be true because you've lived it. Think back to the seasons of your life when you raised your standard, when you demanded more from yourself. Maybe it was in your health, maybe in your career, maybe in your relationships. You can remember the difference it made. You can remember how alive you felt when you were living at a higher level. And you can also remember the times you let your standard slip, the times you allowed excuses to lower the bar. You know how quickly momentum fades when you let yourself off the hook. That is why every morning is critical. You cannot coast on yesterday's standard. You must set it again today. You must wake up and declare, this is who I am, this is the level I play at, and nothing less is acceptable. That declaration is not about arrogance, it is about alignment. It is about living in congruence with the person you know you were created to be. When your actions and your standards are aligned, you feel unstoppable. When they are misaligned, you feel restless, unfulfilled, disconnected. Raising your standard does not mean life becomes easy. In fact, it means life will challenge you more because you are now playing at a higher level. But those challenges are exactly what forge your strength. They are what shape your character. They are what separate the person who drifts through life from the person who creates life. Every challenge you face is simply an opportunity to reinforce your standard, to prove to yourself that your commitment is stronger than your circumstances. You have to understand that setting your standard every morning is not about motivation, it's about identity. Motivation fades, but identity endures. When you decide, I am the kind of person who shows up with discipline, you act that way whether you feel like it or not. When you decide, I am the kind of person who gives my best effort, you do it no matter the situation. Identity drives consistency, and consistency creates results. That is why the morning is so important. It's the moment you remind yourself of your identity and recommit to living it. The world will always try to pull you toward average, but average is not your destiny. You were not designed to live a life of settling. You were designed to live a life of growth, contribution, and fulfillment. And that begins with the standard you set, the standard you enforce, the standard you embody every single day the moment you open your eyes. Your life is not shaped by your intentions, it is shaped by your decisions. Every single day you are faced with choices, and those choices accumulate into the results you experience. People often confuse wanting something with deciding to make it real. There is a massive difference between the two. Intention is passive, it is a thought, a wish, an idea floating in your mind. Decision is active, it is commitment, it is action, it is energy put into motion. The world is full of people with good intentions, people who say they want to change, who dream of a better life, who talk about their goals year after year. But dreams without decisions are hallucinations. Nothing changes until you decide, until you cut off every other possibility and commit yourself fully to one path. The word decision comes from the Latin decidere, which means to cut off. When you decide, you cut off all other options. You stop leaving back doors open. You stop waiting for the perfect time. You stop negotiating with your own excuses. A true decision is not, I'll try. A true decision is I will. That difference may sound small, but it is the line between a life of regret and a life of fulfillment. When you say, I'll try, you leave yourself an escape. When you say, I will, you burn the boats and force yourself to find a way. That energy, that level of commitment is what produces results. Every result you have in your life right now can be traced back to a decision you made. Some were small decisions that compounded over time, like what you eat, how you move, what you focus on. Others were major decisions that altered the course of your path completely. But the pattern is the same decisions create direction, and direction creates destiny. If you are not where you want to be, it is not because life has conspired against you. It is because somewhere along the line, you decided to settle, to wait, to choose comfort instead of courage. And the moment you own that, you reclaim your power, because if your past decisions shaped your present, then your present decisions can reshape your future. Intentions don't move the needle. How many times have you told yourself you would start tomorrow, you would change next week, you would take action when things calm down? Those intentions give you a temporary feeling of relief, but they do nothing to move you forward. They trick you into believing progress is happening when it is not. The only thing that changes your life is when you decide right now, not someday, not eventually, but in this moment, to act. A decision followed by action creates momentum, and momentum creates results. Without the decision, nothing happens. People underestimate the power of small decisions because they seem insignificant in the moment. Choosing to get up early or hit snooze feels small. Choosing to eat clean or indulge feels small. Choosing to make the extra call, send the extra message, push the extra rep feels small. But small decisions repeated daily build habits, and habits build character, and character creates destiny. The truth is, your destiny is hiding inside the little choices you make every day, not just the big dramatic ones. When you learn to decide in alignment with who you want to be instead of how you feel in the moment, you start to create consistency. And consistency is what produces lasting transformation. There is a part of you that already knows what you need to do. You don't need more information. You don't need to wait for another sign. You don't need permission from anyone else. What you need is to decide. Decide to stop tolerating what holds you back. Decide to step into what challenges you. Decide that enough is enough, that from this moment forward, you will no longer be governed by hesitation. That level of clarity is rare because most people are addicted to indecision. They keep all options open. They dabble. They say yes to too many things. And in doing so, they dilute their power. Power comes from focus, and focus comes from decision. Every extraordinary life is built on decisive moments. The moment someone decides they will no longer tolerate poor health and commits to transforming their body. The moment someone decides to stop playing small and steps into their true potential. The moment someone decides to walk away from what no longer serves them and toward what ignites them. These decisions are turning points. They may feel terrifying in the moment, but they open doors that intentions never could. Fear often shows up right before a powerful decision because fear knows that once you decide, its control over you weakens. Decisions also require standards. If you have not set your standard, your decisions will always be inconsistent. You will decide one thing when you feel motivated and another when you feel tired. But when your standard is clear, your decisions align with it regardless of how you feel. If your standard is that you do not settle for less than your best, then your decisions reflect that. If your standard is that you show up with integrity, then your decisions reflect that. Standards simplify decisions because once you know who you are and what you stand for, the choice becomes obvious. The enemy of decision is hesitation. Hesitation kills dreams faster than failure ever could. Failure teaches you, failure grows you, failure points you in new directions. But hesitation robs you of all of it. Every time you hesitate, you train your mind to doubt, you train your body to freeze, you train your spirit to accept less. On the other hand, every time you decide quickly and act, you train yourself to trust your instincts, to build momentum, to create results. It is not about reckless choices, it is about decisive ones. Clarity plus action is what moves mountains. One of the most powerful realizations you can have is that not deciding is also a decision. Choosing not to act, choosing to wait, choosing to delay, those are decisions too, and they come with consequences. The person who doesn't decide to pursue their dream is deciding to let it die. The person who doesn't decide to improve their health is deciding to let it decline. The person who doesn't decide to invest in their growth is deciding to stay stagnant. Once you see indecision as a decision in itself, you realize you are never off the hook. Every moment counts. When you understand the power of decisions, you begin to take ownership of your life. You stop blaming circumstances because you realize circumstances are influenced by choices. You stop waiting for luck because you realize luck is often the residue of bold decisions. You stop envying others because you realize they are living in the results of the decisions they made. And you begin to ask yourself with honesty, what am I deciding today? Am I deciding to grow, to act, to move forward? Or am I deciding to settle, to delay, to hide? The truth is, one decision can change everything. One decision to commit fully. One decision to say no more. One decision to break an old pattern and step into a new identity. It doesn't take a lifetime of effort to change. It takes a single moment of absolute clarity followed by massive action. That moment is available every single day, every single morning, every single choice you make. The question is never whether you want it. The question is whether you will decide. This is your time, not tomorrow, not next year, not when things line up perfectly. This moment right now is the only one that matters because it's the only one you actually have. Too many people live their lives in the waiting room, convincing themselves that the right conditions have to appear before they can finally step in their potential. They wait for more money, more confidence, more approval, more certainty. They wait for the kids to grow, for the economy to shift, for the stars to align. And in the waiting, they miss their life. The truth is there is no perfect moment. There is only now, and if you don't claim it, you lose it forever. Claiming your time means recognizing no one is coming to save you. No one is coming to hand you permission. No one is going to walk up and say, now you're ready. You are the one who has to decide you're ready. You are the one who has to step forward. You are the one who has to declare, this is my moment, this is my season, this is my life, and I will not let it pass me by. That declaration is powerful because it shifts you out of the passive role of a bystander and into the active role of a creator. Every excuse that tells you to wait is lying to you. Waiting does not make you stronger. Waiting does not make you more prepared. Waiting does not make you braver. Waiting makes you weaker because it reinforces hesitation. Every time you postpone your greatness, you teach yourself that your dreams can wait, that your potential can wait, that your fulfillment can wait. And one day you look back and realize the time you were waiting for has already passed. This is why urgency matters. Urgency is not panic. Urgency is clarity. Urgency is the awareness that this moment is precious and irreplaceable. And once it's gone, it will never come back. Your time is now because you are alive now. Your heart is beating now. Your breath is flowing now. That means your purpose is active now. Everything you've been through has brought you to this moment, and everything ahead of you will be determined by what you do with it. When you claim this is your time, you stop living in the shadow of your past, and you stop waiting for the illusion of the future. You center yourself in the only place where change actually happens, which is right here, right now. Claiming your time is also about raising your standards. It's about refusing to settle for less than you know you are capable of. It's easy to get lulled into the comfort of average, to tell yourself you'll push harder tomorrow, to promise yourself you'll get serious later. But later is a trap. Later is the word that steals dreams. Later is how potential dies quietly. When you say, this is my time, you cut through later and replace it with now. You begin to live with intensity, with focus, with intention. You stop treating your goals as optional, and you start treating them as urgent. Your time is not something you stumble into. It's something you take ownership of. It requires action, bold action, consistent action. It requires that you step into rooms that intimidate you, that you take on challenges that stretch you, that you speak words that scare you. It requires that you move even when it feels uncomfortable, because discomfort is the doorway to growth. When you say, this is my time, you are giving yourself permission to be uncomfortable because you know that's where transformation lives. This is also about identity. If you believe your time is someday, you live as a person who waits. If you believe your time is now, you live as a person who acts. That shift in belief changes everything. You start to carry yourself differently. You start to speak differently. You start to think differently. You stop looking for validation from others, and you start creating validation from your own actions. You stop comparing your timeline to someone else's, and you start owning your own path. Believing this is your time changes the way you show up in every situation. Think about the people you admire, the people who inspire you. None of them got where they are by waiting until it was comfortable. They all had a moment when they decided against fear and doubt and uncertainty that it was their time. That decision was the spark, the turning point. They stepped forward, not because they were guaranteed success, but because they refused to let the moment slip by. You have the same opportunity every single day. The question is whether you'll seize it. When you claim this as your time, you begin to live with a different level of energy. You wake up with purpose. You move through your day with intensity. You end your night with fulfillment. You are no longer drifting. You are directing. You are no longer reacting. You are creating. Life is no longer happening to you. It is happening through you. That is the difference between someone who waits and someone who claims. One spends their life hoping, the other spends their life building. There is also responsibility in claiming your time. It means you stop blaming circumstances, you stop pointing to your past, you stop waiting for someone else to fix things. It means you take full ownership of your choices, your actions, your results. That responsibility may feel heavy at first, but it is also liberating because once you own it, you realize nothing can hold you back except you. No obstacle is final, no failure is fatal, no setback is permanent. The only thing that matters is whether you keep claiming your time, whether you keep moving forward. This is your time to let go of the old stories that have kept you small. Stories about why you can't, about why it won't work, about why you're not ready. Those stories have stolen enough of your life. They have kept you chained to a version of yourself that no longer serves you. Claiming your time means writing a new story, one that reflects the strength, courage, and possibility that has always been inside you. That story begins the moment you decide to believe in it, and every action you take reinforces it. You have everything you need inside you already. The strength, the creativity, the resilience, the resourcefulness, it's all there. The only thing missing is the decision to use it now, not to wait, not to hesitate, not to hope someday will be different, but to declare that today is the day, this is the moment, and you are the one who will make it happen.